Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is Nick from Top Notch Sports. This is the current state of the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders were 6-11 in the 2022 NFL season, finishing third in the AFC West and ultimately not making the playoffs. This was under head coach Josh McDaniels and general manager Dave Ziegler. After one season of having quarterback Derek Carr on the roster, they decided to part ways at the end of the season, bringing a new quarterback to Las Vegas and Jimmy Garoppolo and trying to run it back again in 2023. Unfortunately for Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler, it would not last long in the 2023 NFL season before both would be fired. Now, Antonio Pierce, former Giants linebacker, is steering the ship for the Las Vegas Raiders. Will he have an opportunity to finish up this season? And will he be able to be the Raiders head coach going into next season? The question remains, will the interim tag be removed? This is the current state of the Las Vegas Raiders. Here we are. The Raiders are currently 6-8 this season, and there are 3 games remaining on their schedule. Now, with this being mentioned, you look at the season so far to this point, starting all the way back from Denver in week 1 and working our way all the way down to the last win against the LA Chargers. The very early part of the season, okay, this is all the Josh McDaniels era, okay, and we really don't see that change being made until right here, the New York Giants, okay, when finally Antonio Pierce would come take over the reins with Bo Hardegree as the offensive coordinator, as Mick Lombardi and Josh McDaniels will be fired. And we finally started seeing a little bit of a change in this team. The morale looked up. The team played with energy. They were finally free of Josh McDaniels. But now here's the thing. After the 2022 NFL season, I already wrote off Josh McDaniels. I knew that we would not be where we need to be, especially the way he handled the whole Derek Carr situation and the Davante Adams situation, and then you move on from Darren Waller, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not saying moving on from Darren Waller wasn't a good thing. I'm not saying that at all. All I'm saying is that when you have guys that have been on this team for years and they fought so hard for this team, to move on from them that easily, to have Derek Carr be worth so much in draft capital just a year ago. There were reports that he was worth 2 first-round picks, and to ultimately release him and get nothing for this Raiders team. That is not maximizing your opportunity. That's not maximizing your value from an organizational standpoint. Instead of getting 2 first-round picks, you got rid of them for free. And that is disgusting. And that's the moment I knew that Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels should both be fired, when they were not able to capitalize on their value. And not only that, the whole Chandler Jones signing, okay, you can sit there and you can knock Yannick Ngakoue and all this. Yannick Ngakoue was way more productive than Chandler Jones was. And we paid Chandler Jones a shit ton to play here. Okay, and he did absolutely nothing for our organization. So here we are right now, 6-8, 3 games remaining. I mean, at best, you can go 9-8. You have a shot at the playoffs if you can beat the Chiefs, the Colts, the Broncos, but most likely that's not going to happen. Could you pull a game or 2? Yes. Could you lose all 3? Yes. The thing that we want to look at here is this. Under Antonio Pierce, the Raiders are 3-3. They beat the Giants, who are not that good. They beat the Jets, who are not that good. They lost to the Dolphins, who are a tough team. They lost to the Chiefs, who are an okay, tough team. I wouldn't say the Chiefs this year are as good as they are, but they're still a very tough team. Minnesota, we got absolutely shut out. We lost 3-0, and then we blew out the LA Chargers. And again, Brandon Staley, I've been calling for that man to be fired since his first year. And I'm all about continuity, but that dude did not know what the hell he was doing. Kansas City, Indianapolis, Denver. Okay, when you look at the wins that Pierce has been able to gather, 2 games against teams that aren't that good, and the Chargers, who Staley was just a dumpster fire at that point. The 3 losses so far, 2 tough teams, and a team like the Vikings that we should have been able to beat, especially the way the game was. So look at these final 3. I mean, Kansas City in Arrowhead is going to be a tough game to beat. Indianapolis has also been tough. And Denver. One thing I've noticed about Antonio Pierce, he has been able to compete against some decent teams. Okay, he has. He's kept us in some games. This team has been in some tough games. So we'll have to see how they ultimately finish up. And that's what we're going to predict here. Here is the depth chart for the Las Vegas Raiders. So right down the line, okay, let's start with quarterback. Aidan O'Connell. Aidan O'Connell I didn't scout him coming out of the draft. I did not. That was somebody I do scouting reports every year. If you like scouting reports, please stay tuned. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe, we do mock drafts and everything else. Did not scout him. Did not know much about him. He's honestly been somewhat impressive for a late round rookie quarterback. I'm not a fan of Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think that Aiden O'Connell will be the future of this team, but he has been decently impressive for as late as we got him. And I feel like he could be a pretty dang good backup somewhere. He's definitely not a starter for a team, in my opinion. Could he come in a relief duty if need be? I think he could. In a year or two, I think that he could be a decent, below average starter in the National Football League. But you're not going to want to have that be your franchise, if that makes sense. So again, Aiden O'Connell, you got Josh Jacobs, Jakob Johnson, and Zamir White in the backfield. At the wide receiver position, we got Davante Adams, Jacoby Myers, and Hunter Renfrow, with Trey Tucker and DeAndre Carter as two of the backups. Tight end rookie Michael Mayer. The offensive line, I'm going to continue to say, I like Thayer Munford. I liked him coming out of the draft. I hope that they continue to start him. It would be nice to see him play. He did a really good job on the left side when Colton Miller was not playing last week against Khalil Mack. I think that Thayer Munford could be a really good offensive tackle and maybe be one of the franchise offensive tackles with Colton Miller. Those two on opposite sides of each other would be phenomenal. Guards, Dylan Parham and Greg Van Roten. Again, I like Dylan Parham decently coming out of the draft, and Andre James. And you know what? Andre James, as much as people hate John Gruden, okay, and they hate him, I don't know why. Andre James, Colton Miller, Hunter Renfrow, Josh Jacobs, okay, that's 4 pieces on the starting lineup that are still from John Gruden, starting after McDaniels went out and slaughtered everybody else. So you see the impact that he had. And I don't care. I know the first round picks weren't great, but you got to understand that, he didn't do a bad job, especially in those later rounds. Okay. And Andre James was an offensive tackle coming out of college. I think he was undrafted free agent. We moved him as a center, working with Colton Miller, and now look at him, starting center for us for the last few years. Defensive side of the ball, Mad Max Crosby. Oh, John Gruden signing. Draft pick. Malcolm Koonce, John Gruden draft pick. Okay. Divine Diablo, another one. Trayvon Merring, another one. Nate Hobbs, another one. Amit Robertson, another one. Holy crap. Wait, what's that? We got about 5 guys on our defense, also from John Gruden and Mike Mayock. Everyone that wanted to slander them up and down the alleyway. And this was after Josh McDaniels tried to get rid of everybody. So again, interesting stuff to look at. Defense has been playing pretty damn good with Patrick Graham this year. Total 360 or 180 from last year. Okay, last year the defense stunk. This year it looks good. The offense this year has been looking okay. And with the weapons that we have with Renfrow, Adams, and Jacoby Myers and Michael Mayer, really, the receiving core, we could be really good. And I feel like, again, if we had a slightly above average quarterback, Carr, we'd be all right. But hey, it is what it is. Hopefully this year, maybe we draft a quarterback. It would be nice. I haven't done my scouting report yet. But if we get that slightly above average quarterback with these weapons and the running back, and we continue to pile up draft picks all over the team, we will have a really good season in 2024, as long as if we bring in a competent coach. Unless Antonio Pierce is a guy, maybe he's a guy. If he's a guy, great. If not, maybe you bring in someone that's really good. Maybe you bring in like a Ben Johnson, someone that can run an offense. Maybe you bring back John Gruden. I know people hate to hear that. Maybe you bring in Jim Harbaugh. Okay, there are options. Frank Smith. There's options. So we'll see what this team ultimately does. But the defense has been playing pretty dang good this year. The offense has been a little bit iffy at times, which is expected because, rookie quarterback. Here we are. The current record is 6-8. We're going to look at the Top Notch Sports analytical model and tool and see what they are projecting the final 3 games look like. There are 0 favorable games according to our Top Notch Sports analytical tool that was created by Noah Huberman Thompson. He's our analytical guy and statistics guy on our channel. He created this model and this tool that throws in a bunch of numbers and stats and, computes a bunch of things and then ultimately tells us what their prediction is. And we'll tell their prediction at the end, but right now we're going to go over our prediction. But this right here, the favorable, unfavorable, and toss-up games is according to the tool. So 0 favorable games according to the tool remaining on the schedule, 1 unfavorable game according to the schedule, and 2 toss-up games according to the tool on the schedule. So what does this ultimately mean? Well, it's not good to see that there's 0 favorable games, okay? So in theory, you can lose a favorable game, you can win an unfavorable game. It's possible. But according to the tool, you definitely want more favorable games. And having 0 means that in theory, this team, according to the tool, could lose out, right? And be 6-11 for 2 back-to-back years and have a decent draft pick, et cetera, et cetera. But the 2 toss-up games are somewhat okay. I mean, again, if somehow you are able to win both, you go 8-9. 8-9 is not bad, but you're not making the playoffs at 8-9. The only way you go 9-8 and have a shot for the playoffs is you win out. And with one unfavorable game, that's going to be very tough to do. To win 2 toss-up games out of the 2 toss-up games is going to be tough to do, let alone win 2 toss-up games and pull the unfavorable game in the final 3 weeks. If that happens, Pierce will probably stay another season. So the current record is 6-8. There are 0 favorable games, so we don't got to go over anything there. The current record of the Raiders is 6-8. There's 1 unfavorable game. This game is considered by the Top Notch Sports analytical tool to be the game against the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, so there you go. That's the unfavorable one. And last but not least, current record of the Raiders is 6-8. There are 2 toss-up games. These are defined as the game against Indianapolis and game against Denver. Okay, so those are your 3 remaining games. There's 2 toss-up, 1 unfavorable. Let's see what the prediction is by our analysts. With 0 games left on the schedule, we have it looking like this. And the record being predicted at 6-9 with 2 too close to call games. So the game against Kansas City, we're comfortable saying that will be a loss in Arrowhead. So there you go. That's how you get the 9th loss. The game against the Indianapolis Colts and the game against Denver is too close to call right now. So we'll go back to that and look at that on the next slide. So right now, 6-9 after the first few games. There's 0 games left, but 2 undecided games that we will talk about right now. So with 0 games left and the 2 undecided games answered, we have them losing against the Colts, but beating the Denver Broncos in Las Vegas, which will end the season at 7-10 for the Las Vegas Raiders this upcoming season. This is according to our analysts, not our top-notch sports analytical tool, but that will be predicting it in 2 seconds from now. So let's keep this thing pushing. Our predicted record is 7-10. Top-notch sports analytical tool believes the absolute floor will be 6-11. The likeliness, what their prediction is 7-10, and the ceiling of being, of course, 8-9. So again, there you have it. According to the tool, 6-11 the floor, 7-10, which is also agreeing with our analyst at most likely going to be the situation, and 8-9 being the ceiling for this team this season. That being said, let's get to our final slide. The current record of the Las Vegas Raiders is 6-8. They will finish 1-2 in the final 3 games and finish with a final record of 7-10. So here's our final prediction for the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders will finish with a record of 7-10. Finish 3rd in the AFC West, missing the playoffs, but trying to find their footing for the 2024 NFL season. Whether or not it's Antonio Pierce or it's another coach, this team is going to be trying to find their footing. One more time, our final prediction is the Raiders finish with a record of 7-10, finish 3rd in the AFC West, missing the playoffs, but ultimately trying to find their footing for the upcoming 2024 NFL season. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all for me. We'll see you guys soon. Peace. We are built better.
Alrighty, set.
Hehehehe